Each year, Rose Hill Manor hosts a World War II weekend with living history and museum exhibits to learn about life during the Second World War. During this year's event, we had an opportunity to sit down with Charles Bear, a World War II veteran who has lived in Frederick County for 97 years. This is his story.
My name is Charles W. Bear. I grew up on Winchester Street in Frederick, Maryland. I was born on January the 19th, 1926 at F. Frederick Memorial Hospital. I lived in Frederick County all my life, 97 years, except for the time I was in the service. Some of the things I can remember is that usually on a Saturday night, my father would take me to the movies. And it would either be the one called the Opera House or the Frederick Theaters. Very seldom to the one called Tivoli. And we watched the shows on Saturday because mainly the one at the Opera House would run a serial movie from week to week. The same for people, but different movies. I was drafted, but I was in the third year of high school, and they told me that I could stay in school until it was out, then I had to go on active duty. Well, I was already in the reserve before that, and I think that's the reason why I got such good education. In the service, when I first went in, I left high school on a Friday, Saturday morning, down in front of Winchester Hall, we loaded it on a bus and went down to the train station. The group of us that was to go, which was quite a few of them from over on the south end of town where I lived. And from there we went down onto the train. From the train we went to Fort Meade. And they called us out for different things. Some of them left that same day to go to another camp, where I stayed right there at Fort Meade for about 2 months. And they had me checking in motor vehicles, loading them on flat cars to be shipped to the East Coast for shipping overseas or to other camps. And I did that for about 2 months. And then they sent me to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And while I was at Fort Bragg, I got my education, and they sent me to a class where they had Morse code. Doing the Morse code, seemed like everybody was throwing down their pencil because they didn't understand it, where I was going right straight through it, because my father and my grandfather both worked for the B&O Railroad. And I used to go with them down to the Frederick Junction where the station was, and the telegraph operator down there taught me Morse code. Plus, I already had it when I was in the Boy Scouts. And from there on, it was more so, I was kind of a head man, like. And I was at Fort Bragg, took all my education at Fort Bragg, what I was to get. On the planes, I used to fly in them at the time there at Fort Bragg. That's the plane I used to fly in, taking pictures. And the pictures we took, we never seen them because we sent them right back to them because they need them. From there, I went from Fort Bragg to California to go overseas. And I went overseas. Put me on a ship and I was going. I didn't know where I was going till I got there. When the ship got to the Philippines, we just unloaded and went on a staging area. From the staging area, we went by truck up to our camp area. They sent me to a unit called the 409th Field Artillery Group Headquarters, high echelon, next, right under Mikasa's headquarters. And I stayed there in the island until they sent me home. I used to do foot patrol too, go out on patrol. And I was on one patrol, there was about 10 of us, counting the sergeant. We got out about 5 miles from where our camp was, but we didn't run into anybody or anything. And the sergeant said, check with them and see if they want us to go any further or return. And I tried. I had a field pack radio on my back. We tried, but we couldn't get nobody. And the sergeant said, I'll check it. And he walked around the back, and he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, no wonder you couldn't get them. I said, why? He said, you got a bullet hole in your battery case. And I fainted right there. They had to get me up off the ground there or thing. It was a hard experience in a way because you never knew it. I never knew it because it hit that pack. It didn't come all the way through because it hit that wet cell battery. It was in the radio bomb, and that saved my life. And that's the reason why I'm here today. It's a little hard to talk about. This is a picture of a shadow box I made and put all my medals in it. In the back of this shadow box, which is about 3 inches deep, is all my military papers. This is the Bronze Star. That's the Bronze Star there. I had 2 of them from being at action with the battery. It went through enough of the metal casing on the radio that it didn't come out the other side because it went through the batteries. The batteries slowed it down, but it did bulge it out a little bit. The uniform you see was issued to me when I got back to California, because when we got back, we came back as a unit in our greens, our fighting clothes. And this is my original. They issued me in California that I'm proud I can still get in. When I got out of service, I went back to get my diploma. I can tell you that much, which was a great thing. After school, I went to work. Well, I delivered papers for the Frederick News and Post at the time, and then I went to work for the Barrow's Lumber Company. It used to be down where the post office is now. From there, I went to work for the Maryland State Police as a barracks clerk, receiving calls, dispatching vehicles like that. And from state police, I went to work for the Frederick City Police and spent time with them till I found a better job. The sheriff came out and said that the Board of Education was going to start a school guard thing for schools, and I wasn't doing anything but working on my own. And I told my wife, I said, I found something. I'm pretty sure I can get it. And I was the first school crossing guard that they hired, Sheriff Jenkins hired. And I had to leave when my wife passed. I had to leave. She was sick, and I had to be taking her to different doctors all the time. And I had to leave the crossing guard job, but it was a good job. Frederick County, good place to live, I'd say. They got so much stuff that's going on that people can go with and activate with and things. The county fair like we have here in September.
Charles Bear has been a part of Rose Hill's annual World War II weekend since its inception 10 years ago. We asked, why is this event so important?
It keeps the memory of the kids involved. It brings people together. That also includes the people in the car show. Fellowship is the biggest thing for the people here. I've been very proud to be a liberator for our country and also for our county and city and state.